Hello and welcome to the Paletteful Packs YouTube channel. My name is Alice and I have the November 2021 Paletteful Premiere Pack here in front of me. So let's go ahead and open it on up and see what's inside. Ooh, green. Ooh, acrylic. Ooh, pencil bag. Just a lot of oohs just happened there. Start with the pencil bag. Love this. Super cute. I can never have enough pencil bags, like period. They are just, I use them for everything, literally everything. So super stoked about this cute little felt bag. It's green, has a little Paletteful Packs logo on it. Can put a lot of stuff in there. And then, ooh, Amsterdam Acrylics Dream and Create General Selection. This is a 6 set. Each is 20 milliliters, and it comes with titanium white, primary yellow, pyrrole red, ultramarine, permanent green deep, and oxide black, which is a great color selection. We've got our primaries, we've got a green, we've got black and white, so we should be able to create the majority of the colors that we need with these. I'm super stoked already that there's acrylics in here. I really like working with acrylics, so I'm excited to see what the rest of the box has in store for us. Oh, pens. Ah, Posca. Let's start there. Oh my God. Wait, there's a sticker. Okay, focus. Look at this. I am so excited. This is a purple Posca pen. It is the bullet nib, which is 0.7 millimeters. Let's open it up. This is what the nib looks like. This color is purple, which is my favorite color, so I am super stoked about this. These are the nice finer tipped ones. I've used these before. They're great for adding little details and line work to your piece. So those will work great because those are acrylic based pens, so they're going to work perfect with those acrylic paints. Obviously, since we have paints, we are also receiving a brush. This is a Robert Simmons brush. It is a filbert type tip, which is what this is called, where it is flat but also round at the end. These are really, really great and versatile shaped brushes, and it's a size 8. I really like sizes 4 to 8. I think they're very versatile. This is a great size because you can fill in a lot of large areas without too much trouble, but it's small enough that you're able to get the details that you need. This brush is a mix of natural sable and synthetic filaments, which is a great mix when you are painting, and all of these brushes are handmade and do carry a lifetime guarantee. The next thing in here is this Winsor & Newton Fineliner. This is actually a replacement for the Fineliner from last month's box, which was defective, and this is in a gray color, which is great, super, super versatile in the 0.5. The ink is both water resistant and fade proof pigment ink. We're also receiving a palette knife from Art Alternatives, perfect for mixing our paint, but you can also even apply acrylic paint with a palette knife, as anyone who has experienced the joy of Bob Ross will know. The Amsterdam Paints that we received are a medium viscosity paint. That means they're not super thin, but they're not super thick, and we'll be able to create texture with this if we so choose, but we also can create thin and more blended, less textural works. So we have a lot of versatility and options here. Then we have this sticker, which I got excited about before because look at this. It is our 5th anniversary, which is so exciting. I remember when Paletteful first reached out to me to help make their videos, and I have absolutely just loved working with Paletteful over the last few years, and I'm just so proud of I'm so proud, and I'm so happy, and I'm so thankful. So happy 5th anniversary, Paletteful. This is adorable. All right, now we have our surfaces. So we have the canvas textured board by Crescent. There are 3 of these, 8 by 10. I really like the Crescent boards. I've tried quite a few of them at this point, but I don't know if I've tried the canvas textured ones. I'm trying to remember. And it says these are great with acrylic, gouache, oil pastels, and mixed media. It has a canvas textured surface on a rigid board. So this seems like a nice alternative if you don't necessarily want to use a full canvas. So really excited to try painting on these. And then it looks like we do have a full canvas in here as well. Also by Art Alternatives. This is an 8 by 10 classic cotton canvas with a 3/4 inch profile. So this is primed with acid-free acrylic gesso and stretched by hand. So we have a nice primed canvas ready to go. Also, something I realized about this after I showed you, the packaging is made of 100% recycled plastic and it's produced locally, that the cardboard packaging is partially made of recycled cardboard and the packaging is 100% recyclable. So make sure that you recycle your packaging and help save our earth. Okay, so this is everything you're going to get in this month's Premier Paletteful pack. We've got the acrylic paints, we've got the palette knife, the Posca pen, brush, the Fineliner from last month, 2 surfaces, technically 4 surfaces because this is a pack of 3, and this pencil case so that we can store all of our products. So there you go. I am so excited to do some acrylic painting, play around with these supplies. So let's go ahead and jump into the art. So the first piece that I did was on this acrylic canvas board. I taped it down to my desk and did a really simple sketch, and then I started by putting in a quick little underpainting. I kept this really loose and simple, and I used a bit of a wet on wet technique where I would spray the canvas as I went and just add in that color right on top and let it blend. This works really well for an underpainting because it helps me establish the colors in a pretty free-flowing way. I'm also doing some blending right there on the board. As you can see, I just throw the colors in, blend them out, and then add some more on the top. This is a really fun technique and it can really help with getting some freedom going in your painting and also getting some complex colors, but it can definitely be a tricky one, so use it on an experimental piece until you get used to it would be my recommendation. But blending on the canvas is definitely a really good way to start establishing unity through your piece as well. And so that's what I'm doing here. You can see I added in a bit of the blue of the sky down in the bottom where this like kind of crop field is that this couple is lying in. And then I added, and I used that for the shadows, and then I added in more of this orangey, yellow, red into the sky, kind of getting a bit of like a vibe of the sun there, a little bit of a reflection on the bottom of the clouds, and just adding in some more complex colors to both the top and the bottom of the piece. And I've also started establishing a couple loose little details about the figures and a little bit more shading in the crop field and the sky. Once that first underpainting layer is dry, I went in with the little Fineliner and I defined the bodies of the couple a little bit more. I'm still keeping it really sketchy. I'm not too concerned about this. They're really small and it's like a little silhouette and they're going to get painted over more anyway. And then I also kind of added in a couple lines around their body to kind of give a little bit of weight. And I added in some water and was able to blend that out a little bit as you saw, which is something really cool. If you're going to use these fine liners on top of the acrylic, it works really well because they are water-based, so you can kind of blend them out. So then I move on to continuing to add more details. I want this whole piece to be pretty brushy. So I'm trying to add some interesting colors and some interesting brushwork. In the sky, I'm trying to move my brush strokes so they kind of go with the idea of these clouds and the sweeping sky. And then down in the bottom, my brushwork is going a little bit like more diagonal and up because it's more of a crop field. And I want to establish that area too. So your brushwork is really important if you're going to be doing something that's a little bit more impressionistic. Just pay attention to the direction that your brush strokes go because it can make a really big difference. In terms of color, I'm still using a similar technique where I'm mixing the yellow and orange with the blue of the sky to create these shadows and to create more variation and tones throughout. Adding in that different variation with tones will also make a really, really big difference and make your piece look a lot more interesting. Then I'm adding in some final more little details in the front where I wanted the plants to be a little bit more visible. I really don't know what kind of plants these are. It's just they're plants. And then I felt like it was good. I didn't want to overwork this. I wanted it to be really simple. So I took off the tape and I think it's a really nice vibe. I'm happy with it anyway, so hopefully you all like my final piece for the acrylic canvas board. So, one thing that I didn't do was do swatches, and so that was why my first one was a little bit more of a warm up. So, I did the canvas one next, and I decided to incorporate some similar techniques, but I wanted it to be a lot more abstract. So, the first thing that I did was spray the canvas down with water, and then I started adding in loads of different blues and some yellows to make some like oceany kind of greens, and letting those all blend into one another. I like doing this on canvas a lot because you get a really, really cool texture from the canvas itself. Then things got really messy and I started tipping it and letting it pour and drip. And then I added in even more paint on top. But this time I let the paint be thicker because I wanted to add in some physical texture on top of that visual texture. So you have visual texture, which is a flat texture that you can kind of see on the page, but it's not actually 3D. The physical texture is kind of where it's 3D and it's sticking out of the page. When you see those brushstrokes that are really like dimensional. And so I like to combine both of them. So now you can see I am still going in with all of those drippy colors, and I use my hairdryer to kind of blow them around. And once that second layer was done and I was happy with it and it was dry, I went in with the Posca pen. And I learned this technique a little bit ago from TikTok, and I decided to go back to it. It's a really good way of creating kind of a oceany look, or in this case I felt like I had an ocean vibe, but I also kind of felt like it looked like you were seeing pebbles through the water. And so what I started with was doing all of these kind of circular shapes with the Posca pen, and I filled the entire canvas with that. And then I went over with the Posca pen and I rounded all of the sharp edges on the insides and the outsides, connected everything together. And in some areas, I left little kind of air bubbles between the connections if I felt like it was too thick. And I kind of figured it out as I went along because it had been a while since I'd done this technique, but I think it worked out pretty well. After that was dry, I went in with a second layer of paint and water. The water did smudge the Posca just a little bit, probably because I didn't let it dry for long enough. I kind of like let this dry for like a few minutes and like hair dried it, and I think that you should probably dry it overnight if you're going to do this, but that's okay because I think it worked out fine. But I added in that water and did the same thing as I did before, just kind of like smearing it around and adding in thicker paint. And if you have like a medium at home, an acrylic medium, and you want to try this, that also works really well. So little tip there if you have that. And then I went in with white on top, and I added in a second layer of these like bubbly type things. So I did the same technique as I did before with the purple Posca layer, just with the white paint to create this kind of layered effect. And by adding in those colors in between as well, you're creating this kind of look that is partially transparent and partially opaque. So it's kind of a mottled texture. And I think it looks really pretty. And I've done this with a couple different pieces now. It's kind of set off a whole thing in me. So if anyone else tries this technique, this style of painting, I would love to see, because I did try to make this something that you could really easily follow along and replicate if you want to do that with your own box. So I did spend quite a bit of time on this part. This part took like probably one of the longest parts because I was being like a little bit more focused on the details in the top layer because it wasn't going to be as covered up. But once I had the white part down, I went in and I went back and kind of added in some more little holes and bubbles. In hindsight, I wish that I had gone and used the Posca in the areas where it would have shown through so it looked a little bit more see-through, but I don't think I just thought about it at the time. But I did that, and because there's even more layers on top, I think it works out fine. but I think that added in a little bit more dimension because you're varying the shapes of the like the bubbles, I guess, a little bit more. So because this has like a darker color of the Posca underneath and then the white on top, I do think that you have a bit of that pebbly look underneath where the bottom half kind of looks like it could be pebbles and then the top half kind of looks like reflection on water, which I think just turns out really cool. It's just a cool effect. And then I added in a little bit more variation in the color in those little areas as well. This was a really fun project, and I think that abstract art is a really, really fun way to get used to a medium. And I definitely recommend trying it, even if you don't consider yourself an abstract artist. I know I don't, and I've been really enjoying it. So I did that technique a third time, but this time I did try to keep it a lot more transparent so that you could see the layers a little bit more since this was the final layer. But I did want to tint that white and have some parts of it a little bit more covered up. So I just spent some time playing with this. Take your time to make it look the exact way that you want. You can wipe it off and do it again, whatever you want to do. I've done that. So once that was done, I wanted to neaten up the edges. So I just took the black acrylic paint, which is super, super black, and I painted the edges. And I think that made it actually look really neat. I don't usually paint the edges, but it definitely worked for this one. So that is it. Those are the pieces that I made for this box. I hope that I helped teach you some useful techniques, and I can't wait to see what everyone has been working on, and I can't wait to see if anyone tries some of these techniques. So if you'd like to get your own box and join the Paletteful family, you can check the link in the description box below. Finally, I do apologize for the delay on this video. That was on my end. And I hope that you are all having a wonderful holiday season, staying safe, and spending some time with your loved ones. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.